Hey everybody, it's Lavender Town, and today I'm going to be turning anime characters into Marvel-style Western superheroes. I'm trying to pick anime characters that are new and old, so we have some classic retro characters as well as some characters who've literally just come out. This video was sponsored by an anime game, and it is called Honkai Impact 3rd. It's an action RPG, and I have been playing it ever since they emailed me about this sponsorship. I really like how the fighting system works. It's pretty simple. You just run, you have an ultimate, you have a fight button, and then you have an evade. But in the actual usage of these buttons, it becomes more complicated. So, for example, if you evade right before the enemy hits you, time stops for a moment, and it feels super cool. In addition to that, there's like combos you can do, and the characters that you unlock all have different abilities, they have different strengths. So yeah, if that sounds fun to you, check the description box for a link to it, and I'll just get started on the video. So for the first character I'm going to be redesigning, I actually decided to use one of the characters from Honkai Impact, and I am using Sakura because she has pink hair and a red plaid skirt, so naturally I just gravitated towards her. I haven't even unlocked her yet in the game, but I'm really excited to. She also has a lot of Japanese-inspired elements in her design, so I thought she'd be a good pick for this video. So first off, I'm extending her thigh highs all the way up so that they look more like the tights that we often see with superheroes, and instead of a skirt I decided to make her sort of more of a bodysuit because that's typically the silhouette that we see with female superheroes. I have not seen a lot of examples of female superheroes with skirts on, maybe just because it's hard to fight in, but I guess, Sailor Moon always managed, so I don't know what the deal is, but this sort of structured corset shape is a lot more popular in Western superheroines. I wanted to transform her into this sort of femme fatale type character. There's a lot of femme fatales in superhero stories, and she kind of fits it really well. She's got a really hourglassy physique, and she has a mask, which I thought I could easily make into a superhero style mask. You can see it on her hip in the reference picture I'm using. It's like a classic Japanese kitsune mask. And so I've blended it with her bunny ears that she has on top of her head and made it into sort of a superhero style mask. Now I took her sort of kimono sleeves and turned that into more of a cape, and I kept her Sakura details that she had on the sleeves of her kimono and turned that into the detailing on her cape. I also took the stitching from the top of her thigh highs and put that on the little mini part of her cape at the front because I didn't want to lose that. I kept her sword because I just thought that was really, really cool, and there are superheroes that use swords, so I thought that would be fine to leave in. And I transformed her sort of more classic Japanese belt into a more superhero utility belt, just because I thought that would help push the superhero thing more. You don't see a lot of superhero ladies with skirts, so I did more of the corset bodysuit style thing that you see a lot of the time. And I kept the plaid though on the sides of her top, just so that we wouldn't lose that in its entirety. Her boots are already very superhero-ish, so I kept them mostly the same, though I changed the heel a little bit. And other than that, I was just trying to make sure that the colors were meshing okay. She looks really harmonious in her original design, and I was having trouble balancing all of those colors as well in mine, but I think I eventually got it pretty figured out. So in Western style shading, it's usually very intense because they want to show the muscles off really well. So I started by blending in the shading to make it soft, but then I realized that that didn't really look like a Western style superhero. So I threw that all out and re-attempted it. The shading of your drawing can really change the way that it looks, so always be careful to make sure that the shading you're using is actually servicing the look that you want at the end. I also colored in the black lines in some areas where the colors were really light, because I noticed in more modern Marvel comics they do that a lot, and I also just thought it would give it a less harsh look. I'm always weirded out by how thick a line art looks next to anime pictures because it's always so thin in anime, and even though I'm trying to emulate Marvel, I thought it was maybe a little too chunky, so I messed around with that quite a bit. So by the end, I think she looks pretty cool. She's got this super actiony stance, she looks ready to fight, and I thought that I got most of the patterns and stuff into her outfit, so that was a important factor as well. Next up is a more retro style character. This is Sasuke from the original Naruto series. This is the anime I grew up with. I was like 12 or 13 when this was starting to come over to the US. So for me, this is like a classic. And for those of you who don't know or haven't watched, Naruto is a story about basically a village of young ninjas, and they learn to use their magical and physical powers to become great protectors of their villages. And Sasuke is the angsty, miserable one. He's like a tragic orphan, and he just doesn't like working as a team. He's really serious, and he's very talented, and he's basically the rival to Naruto, who's the main character. So I'm trying to do kind of a Doctor Strange inspired outfit here, because I feel like a traditional skin tight spandex look with Sasuke was not going to turn out very well. So Doctor Strange was the main like inspiration for this one, because it has a sort of more fantasy mystical look to it. I also wanted to make him look a little bit more like a villain, because I feel like that's Sasuke's natural role. I also decided to turn his Sharingan eye into a visor kind of thing, like a physical object that he has, because I felt like that was more in line with the like design aesthetics of Marvel superheroes. I gave him his kunai from the original Naruto, but I decided to make them sort of transparent and glowy because I thought that looks a little bit more superhero-y, and I was trying to make the whole thing a bit more, like, to move away from the ninja aspect, just so that he looks a little bit more Western, because obviously there's not anything very Western about a ninja. So I don't know how successful I was. I do like how he turned out, but I still think he looks pretty anime, so that's something that I wanted to move away from more as I moved along with the future characters. One thing that I think turned out well was the color scheme. Now, superheroes often use primary colors and strong basic colors in a lot of their designs, and luckily Sasuke already has blue and red in his design. I amped up the red so that there's a stronger contrast between them, and in the end I think he looks pretty dang cool. Next up is Amaru from Himoto Umaru-chan. This is a super cute series about a girl who is naturally good at school, and she's naturally very pretty, so she uses all her free time from being good at everything to basically like eat tons of junk food and watch anime and play video games all day. It's a super relaxing series to watch, though she is kind of terrible and the worst, and I wanted to make a superhero of her. And I decided to do sort of a Spider-Gwen inspired outfit with her, so I had to finally break down and do the skin-tight spandex thing with her cape over top. It's really crazy. I was looking over a lot of Marvel heroes just to see sort of how their original designs typically look so I could properly emulate them. And it's like almost all starting with some sort of like spandex base with other things on top, unless you have some sort of like full metal suit like Cyclops or Iron Man. So there was a lot of, I mean, when you're drawing spandex, you're basically just drawing someone completely naked and then just coloring it a color other than their skin and like putting like a line at some point. You know what I mean? Like it's really crazy. I mean, I guess if you want to draw muscles, it's really great because then you can see all that hard work and it doesn't get covered up by cloth. But I felt weird because I felt like I was just drawing these characters mostly naked because the skin tight suit thing is it's just so tight. But I thought by the end of it, she actually looked pretty cool. She's got a little cola gun and some sort of, I was trying to do like a sharp, like Dorito shuriken kind of thing. I don't know how successful that was, but basically I wanted her snacks to be her weapon, and I wanted her to just look sneaky and fun, and I pretty much like how she turned out. I mean, her cape of course was obviously going to become a superhero style cape. Other than that, I just tried to be sort of traditional about it with the superhero stuff, different colored paneled spandex, and then she was done. Next up is Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. This is such a classic series, and it's had multiple series and stuff, so I'd be shocked if you haven't at least heard of it. But basically, I just wanted to take Edward and make him into a really classic Marvel superhero. So lucky for him, he's getting to be both taller and bigger, which I'm sure he'd be really happy to hear. And I'm just gonna really muscle him up and make him into a classic Marvel superhero. So we're doing the skin tight suit, we're doing of course his arm, which already fits perfectly into the Marvel Universe. And his red cape is perfect for a superhero. Now, I'm covering one of his eyes as well and doing a sort of half mask as an allusion to Alphonse's full robot face, just because I thought it would make him look a little more superhero-esque. Of course, I'm taking the symbol from the back of his cloak and putting it on the front of him because, again, these icons on the front of the suit is also a huge staple of Western superheroes, so I had to do that. I'm keeping his hair the same, even though I know that you'd probably never see this hairstyle in a superhero. I'm actually not sure why, but I needed to keep it because it's so uniquely Edward. I wanted to make sure that that stayed. He's actually, by the end of it, he looks a little bit like Thor for some reason. I guess it's the blonde hair and the red cape. So I feel like this was pretty successful on the westernizing angle of it. It is interesting, there's little details that really change whether something looks like it's an anime character versus a Western character. There's definitely like design sensibilities that stick around depending on what culture this character was made in. He also looks a little bit like Bucky, especially with that arm and with the black suit. So yeah, he's definitely looking like a superhero of some type. Last but not least, you know I had to put a witch in here somehow, so we're doing Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service, one of the most wonderful movies I've ever seen. This is of course a Miyazaki film, and if you haven't seen it, you should just watch it. I don't even want to give a synopsis. It's really wonderful, so please find a way to see it if you haven't. So I am designing her based on Scarlet Witch because she seemed like a good fit for this witch character, and I thought I could bridge together these sort of design aesthetics with her. Scarlet Witch, in her original design, has this strange sort of like mask faceplate thing around her face, so I decided to use that and put a bow on top of it so that it still looks like Kiki. I decided to give Kiki like a cat punch or something like that, so that's what we're kind of using. This was also partially inspired by the Honkai Impact 3 game because one of the characters has a cat punch and I just absolutely love it. But anyway, I'm using all the same colors that Kiki naturally has. I'm trying not to add anything too crazy. Purple and red work just fine for her, and it makes her look quite a bit like Scarlet Witch. To keep those colors because it's similar to the red of Scarlet Witch. I gave her a mechanical broom because again, there's relatively low magic in a lot of these superhero things. Like it's more sci-fi vibes than magic, so I decided to give her sort of more of a device that she flies on. And then I just gave her a purple cape that matched her dress, and then she was looking like a cute little witch superhero. So I liked how this one turned out. I also gave her red visor over her eyes. I just thought that made it look more futuristic rather than old-fashioned, and then she was all done. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Another big thank you to Honkai Impact 3. I will see you guys next week. Thank you to all of my patrons, including Scott Peterson, Christy Stewart, Paynamel, The Artsy Moose, Elizabeth Alvin, Kampom Hon, Trashomaniac, Micah Dactyl, Okamore, Matthew Kunke, Blep, Sergeant Pendulum, Shiori, Lena Christine, DeSweet 12, Giwas, Taka, Lovely, Lachlan MD, Mystic, Enzo Jobert, Yo Boy ST, JJ Jade, La Blah Blah Blah, and Addy Visual.